Hallis by Hallis, and Sid was referring me to a page with a marvelous story that I think tells all you need to know about the relationship. Sid Luckman was going up to visit George Hallis and wish him well on his 84th birthday. And Sid said to George, "I'm still sorry you wouldn't let us call the modern T formation with man in motion the Hallis formation." "No," responded Hallis, "it would not have been right. I didn't want to handicap it. Professional football needed it, and I was sure how much it would change the game of football." I guess we could even start with the T formation because that's what brought us the game that we enjoy today, Sid.
Brent, when I first joined Coach Hallis in the Chicago Bears, we were the only team using the T formation. And this man instigated it. He had the vision of foresight to make it possible for everybody in this country to watch football and realize that he was the man that made it possible for 100 million people to enjoy this great game. Brent, he has done some of the most miraculous things. He is the greatest football coach of all time. He certainly was the most winning football coach of all times, and he's a mortal living legend. We'd like to tell some stories about him a little later, Brent, because there are some sensational stories that I'd like to tell you about our great coach.
Now, this, of course, was the 73-0 game, and I believe a man named Luckman was the quarterback that day.
Yes, I was, folks. I was very fortunate to be at the right spot at the right time, and it was probably the greatest football game ever played.
Then his last championship, and a day I'll never forget because I covered it as a newspaper man in Chicago. 1963. It was the Giants and the Bears. I can still see Del Schaffner going into the corner of the end zone, slipping on that piece of ice, Y.A. Tittle's pass, sailing out of his reach, and George Hallis and the Bears had won one of the toughest defensive battles ever by a score of 14-10. But there must have been, with Coach Hallis, Sid, some lighter moments, some moments of humor that involved him.
There were. We had a football player named Rick Caceres, who was quite an athlete, and he was also one of the playboys of the Western world. Well, we were going to Los Angeles one particular weekend, and we were leaving on a Saturday, and Rick Caceres came onto the plane, and Coach Hallis looked at Rick Caceres, and he had 3 suits over his shoulder. And without a moment's hesitation, he says, "You're fined $100, Caceres." And Caceres looked at him and said, "Why would you fine me $100? I haven't done anything, Coach." He said, "Any man that's carrying 3 suits of clothes when he's going there for one night is up to no good." And that's what the coach did.
Jimmy, before the 73-0 game, were the Bears favored by 72? What was the...
No, but let me tell you, I was the first to ever make numbers on the NFL. I made that game even, like some of the games I make today. It was a toss-up.
Irv, we've talked a lot about Chicago and George Hallis and everything. You have played in the Thanksgiving Day game here in Detroit, and it's not the same now, is it?
It really isn't. Of course, we played over at Tiger Stadium on the grass and in the mud and the conditions, which are, of course, you never can predict during this time of the year. But the Lions are always tough on Thanksgiving Day.
Oh, some of the great defensive battles that they waged, particularly against the Green Bay Packers. Let's take a look, Irv.
When the Lions moved to the spacious Silverdome in 1975, they brought with them an event that is an American tradition, a Thanksgiving Day game in Detroit. Before then, however, Tiger Stadium was the Thanksgiving Day focal point of the nation, for it was here, a holiday and an event met to become an instant classic.
In 1938, the Lions played their first Thanksgiving Day game right here in Old Tiger Stadium. And during the course of the next 36 years, a game born during the heyday of radio was developed through the medium of television into one of America's top sports attractions.
Americans began tuning in, setting their turkey dinners around the snowy Thursday exploits of Lion legends such as number 22, Bobby Lane, and the others who play this game more for pride than anything else.
You knew that all of your kinfolk, your dad, and everybody, all your college buddies that you went to school with were watching you. And not only that, it was just a chance that you knew all the other teams, guys that you were going to be playing in the weeks ahead, were going to be watching you or your performance. So you had a chance to mentally intimidate them.
Between 1951 and 1963, the Lions' holiday rival was the Green Bay Packers. And during this series, Detroit won 9 times, mainly because on this day, each Detroit player seemed to play his best.
But of all the matchups, the 1962 confrontation had the biggest impact. Number 76, Roger Brown, led the Lions to 11 sacks of Bart Starr as Detroit beat a previously unbeaten Green Bay team 26-14 in a game that produced a wave of excitement throughout the television industry.
The game itself was not only memorable, for the Nielsen ratings, it recorded more than 32 million fans that tuned into the action, placing it among the year's top events, along with the World Series and the Rose Bowl.
During the last 12 years in Tiger Stadium, the mystique of the contest continued, as the Lions not only battled many different opponents, but the elements as well. Still, some feel that the modern era has robbed this event of some of its drama.
I don't think it's still got the same significance. Plus, they're playing on this artificial grass. You don't get a chance to get muddy, and you can't mix the blood with the mud, this kind of thing.
I don't know. Auditoriums to me are auditoriums, and then I guess maybe that's when I wanted to become an actor, when I was put into a situation where there was actually a roof there, and I looked at my audience for the first time. But it's been a long time, and things change.
While there will be excitement at Pontiac, here at Tiger Stadium, all that is left are the memories of 37 years, times that helped shape an American tradition. There will be no thunderous cheers today in Tiger Stadium, but if you listen closely, you might hear the echoes of some of the greatest moments in the history of professional football.
This one is caught. He's down to the 10, the 5, touchdown Detroit.
And the folks here today are so happy to be inside. The NFL Today will continue on CBS in just a moment. Jane, you covered an appropriate story for Thanksgiving.
Yes, a lot of parents have been giving thanks to the NFL Charities Corporation for many, many years, and specifically with a group of houses that they have now. Kids of leukemia, they haven't had a place to stay. Now they've got some place to stay.
You're about to meet a group of very special men, all pros like Tom Darden of Cleveland, the Dallas Cowboys' Roger Staubach, Russ Francis of the New England Patriots, the Pittsburgh Steelers' Jack Lambert, Dan Pastorini of Houston, Philadelphia's Bill Bergey. These athletes and many others around the NFL all play on a winning team together. They have helped build special houses for families whose children have leukemia. It's a project that has significant meaning to players like Detroit linebacker Ed O'Neill.
It's really helped a lot of the ball players realize how really special they are as people, as football players, and how special the children are to give us an extra lift to be grateful for what we have.
With the help of a concerned national corporation, houses are now either completed or in the planning stages in nearly 40 cities. They serve as a place for families to stay while their kids undergo treatment. At each house dedication, an NFL team has been represented, such as when Bears president George Halas spoke at the Chicago house opening.
It is a great pleasure to have the Chicago Bears a part of this great human endeavor, especially with this beautiful house, which was acquired through love and dedication. Thank you very much.
The 10th house to open this year was the home in New York. I was there for the dedication and got a chance to visit with some of the children. Also, there was NFL Commissioner Pete Rozelle, who couldn't have been more pleased at what he had seen.
Commissioner, I know you must be very proud to have NFL Charities associated with an organization such as this one.
Well, we are. The Eagles, of course, started this in Philadelphia with a pilot model, Ronald McDonald House, and their infectious enthusiasm just swept through the league. Now we have 22 clubs actively involved. We'd like to accept a sense of social responsibility, and it's wonderful to think about projects like this that not just the NFL, but so many people are involved in making successful, and it's nice to think about them on Thanksgiving Day.
The road is long, with many winding turns that leads us to who knows where, who knows where. brother.
Very appropriate message on Thanksgiving. And someone else who has special words today is Jack Whitaker. Let's go to Jack.
Thank you very much, Brent. Thanksgiving Day. Let me see now. That's the day that Santa Claus comes to town, isn't it? As the world of commerce learned what the world of sports has learned, that they've lost their seasonal identities. But Thanksgiving hangs in there tough, and it has a sense of what it is because of turkey dinners and family reunions, and I think to a great extent because of football, especially on the high school level and the college level, and this professional tradition established by Detroit years ago. Now, if today's confrontation between the Bears and the Lions is not a very dramatic one or a very crucial one, that only serves to prove the uncertainties of life in the National Football League. When this schedule was made, this game shaped up as a very attractive one indeed. Both the Bears and the Lions were rebuilding, the Lions finishing last year very strong, and this division, called the Black and Blue by Norm Van Brocklin years ago, seemed to be the most competitive in both conferences. Then injury struck the Lions, as you know, very early, taking away Gary Danielson, their talented and young quarterback. And from an up-and-coming team, the Lions became, in this Motor City, the Lemons of the NFL. They have a season record now of 1-11, and this conference that looks so competitive and dominated so much in recent years by the Purple of Minnesota has now become, because of the Tampa Bay's, an Orange division. There seems to be no panic here in Detroit, however, and I think that's important. There seems to be really an aura of hope. Monty Clark, their coach, just got a rousing vote of confidence from the front office this week, and despite their dismal record, the Lions have played very tough here at home in the Silverdome. The Bears, on the other hand, are afraid of today. They're still alive in the wild card, as you know. They've had a wonderful month under Mike Phipps at quarterback, and of course they have Walter Payton. And for him, we all should give thanks.
Just moments away now from a kickoff in Detroit. So, Jimmy, let's roll up the analysis board. And I'm going to bring Sid Luckman in, too, and have him second-guess your pick here today.
You know something? This is the first time since Luckman was the quarterback for the Chicago Bears that the Bears are getting the check mark for quarterback. I can't remember. You know, I mean, Phipps has done such a great job. You have to give it to him. He's made the Bears an exciting team with this rookie Watts, I believe. I mean, he's got 7 passes and 6 passes in their last 2 games. The running game, of course, you've got to give it to Payton. And that last bit of information that you gave me about Payton wearing a neck brace because of the pinched nerve might hurt a little bit, but Chicago is an exciting team today. The Lions are in trouble. And when you take a kid like Wally Pursuit, who is, a special teams man, and all of a sudden he has to play center, I mean, that's just overnight. I mean, but we got to remember one thing. Pursuit is from Steubenville, Ohio,
I knew there was a reason why he was involved in it. Sid, Jimmy, let me ask Sid about Mike Phipps. Sid, why has he come along here the last month? You follow the Bears.
Mike Phipps has come along because he's really, fundamentally, he's a fine football player. The coaching on the Bear organization have changed their thinking, and they're starting to pass and open up their offense. But Brent and everybody here, Jane, Irv, and my dear friend Jim, I want to leave you with one thought. They've asked me to come here today to replace George Halas, who just wasn't up to coming here. I want you to know that every single member of the Chicago Bears in the football world love and respect and admire that man with all of their hearts. Coach, I just want you to know there'll never be another man as your successor. As life goes on, there'll only be a man to replace you. God bless you and give you many years of happiness. And thank you so much for having me here today. And I hope the Bears win. Thank you.
So thank you very much, and we'll be right back on the NFL Today in just a moment. There's another big attraction, that one on NBC later today, Houston and Dallas. And we're going to come back and analyze that at halftime. And also, we're going to check in live with Thomas Hollywood Henderson and find out about that dispute that cost him his job this week with the Dallas Cowboys. On behalf of Sid Luckman and Jane Kennedy, Irv Cross, and Jimmy the Greek, I'm Brent Musburger. Sit back and enjoy. Coming up now on CBS, it's Detroit, Chicago, NFL football on CBS.